If you're someone who's been told you weren't good enough, not big enough, not fast enough, not smart enough, or if you've ever felt paralyzed by a failure you just weren't willing to accept, this is the show for you. Hustle and Motivate is a blueprint built by guests who've overcome obstacles, silenced critics, and overcome adversity by seeing every failure as an opportunity, realizing the true power of the underdog mentality. This is Tyler O'Shea, and you're listening to Hustle and Motivate. Growing up, one of my favorite movies was Disney's The Rookie. It told the story of Jim Morris and his meteoric rise from 35-year-old high school teacher to flame-throwing major league pitcher in the span of just 3 months. It's the story of a man who refused to give up on his dream, an underdog overcoming the odds. Jim's story has stuck with me since the first time I ever saw it on the big screen. So for me, it was a dream come true to be able to sit down with him and hear his story one-on-one. So without further ado, here is Jim the Rookie Morris. So tell me a little bit about your early life and when you started dreaming of becoming a major leaguer.
Oh man, I was a little bitty kid, probably about 5, and we lived in Oakland. With him being in the military, we moved quite a bit, but the Oakland A's were my first team I loved, and Vita Blue's pitching for him, and I thought, man, I would love to pitch like that. And you try to emulate those guys who are your heroes. But for me, baseball was always a saving grace because my father was physically and verbally abusive. But in between the white lines of that ball field, I could be the kid I was supposed to be. And the more I played, the better I got. And the better I got, the more I wanted to play. I never, ever competed against the other team. That wasn't my deal. I wanted to compete against me to see how much I could improve in something every day, either my hitting, my fielding, my throwing, pitching off the mound, throwing from the outfield. I just wanted to be the best I could be. And then you put that into a team concept and you've got all these other kids your age and they're all having this dream too. And so, yeah, in between the white lines of that field, I could be the kid I was supposed to be. So since 5, I've wanted to play baseball.
Wow, so when did you start realizing that the majors were a possibility, and kind of take me through your high school days?
Oh man, in Florida, I was the second freshman ever to make our varsity baseball team. My father was still in the military, and right as the season started, they moved me from their house in Florida to my grandparents' house in Brownwood. Now, some important things to know about Texas is football is king. And so our coach, who was in the High School Hall of Fame for having 400 wins and 7 state championships, he didn't like baseball. His thing was, I'd rather watch grass grow than watch a baseball game. So our high school had no baseball team, so it was football. And I love playing football because, again, it's on a sports field, and in between those white lines, I could be me. But for me, I had summer league baseball. And I guess when I started to realize I was getting noticed was a Major League Baseball scout came in, not affiliated with any team, but affiliated with Major League Baseball. And he had me do different things. He watched a couple of games. He would time me as I was running from the batter's box to first base and watch me throwing and grade me. And he put me in the system. And that's why I got drafted by the Yankees out of high school, even though we had no high school baseball team. So I guess probably my sophomore year, I realized I had a pretty good talent and I could go either football or baseball.
And after you got drafted, how far did you take it before the injuries kind of stopped you?
I had rookie ball in the Appalachian League. We were in Paintsville, Kentucky. And what's incredible is that very small percentage of guys make it to the big leagues, going all the way up the system. On that particular team, we had either 9 or 10 guys off that team make it to the big leagues. And I think I made it 11. Of course, it was 15 years later, but it was what a great team. So I did that year. And then the next year in the Midwest League in Beloit, Wisconsin, I made it through that year and was getting better as it went along. My arm started bothering me. They sent me to the Arizona Fall League after that season. And I woke up one morning and I couldn't straighten my arm. I looked down and I was purple from my wrist all the way to my shoulder. And that's when the problem started. So I never really got past A-ball because I was always fighting an injury and trying to come back.
And did you call it a quits, or did they just say, hey, Jim, we're going to let you go?
Actually, I called it quits, and I'd never given a thought to my education because everybody had told me, you're not very smart, you're not bright. My dad even told me, you're so stupid, just different things that were just
Hmm.
horrible. And so I never really tried educationally to press myself. But at that point, at 24 in Dr. James Andrews' office, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this. If I can't play the game I love, maybe I can teach it and coach it, and we'll see what happens there. And so I went to college, found out I wasn't dumb, and got my degree. And it was just time to grow up at that point. And if you've been in baseball for 4.5 or 5 years, you're still in A ball, you need to take a look at yourself. And
Hmm.
that's what I did. Went to college and got out of college and started coaching.
Yeah, so tell me about those experiences with teaching and then coaching as well. Did you ever think that your dream was over?
I never thought I would play baseball again. At 28, I still haven't been out of baseball for 3 years. I had a surgery in which they pulled a 3.5 inch bone spur off the top part of my humerus that was jabbing my rotator cuff.
Ugh.
And the surgeon said, you will never, ever, ever pitch again. You may play golf, you may play toss with your kids in the yard, but you'll never pitch again. Physically impossible, can't be done. So at 28, I thought there is no way I could ever even begin to hope, hey, I think I could make it now. And so I gave that dream up and just started putting all my energy into those kids.
Wow. So were you trying to keep your arm in shape still, or you just kind of completely gave it up?
I gave it up. And one thing that I try to do is I can watch guys approach at the plate better if I'm on the mound throwing to them and watching how they approach the ball than I can standing behind a screen. And
Hmm.
everybody's got their own way of how they judge hitters. But for me, I want to throw batting practice so I could watch my kids swing. And being able to throw every day, I really concentrated on making myself as smooth as possible just so I could throw BP. No concept of, hey, I'll go back to the big leagues.
Hmm.
Never even a thought of that. It was just, hey, you need to throw batting practice. Take it easy, nice and slow, nice and smooth. Let's see what happens. And I guess over time, my arm just got stronger, and those kids ended up being able to hit me really well. And, the rest is history.
Well, can you talk a little bit about that bet, that famous bet you made with your team?
Yeah, that was after a certain coach had stopped me on my way to baseball practice in 1999 to tell me, you've taken these kids as far as you can. These kids are losers. Their parents are losers. And then he looked at me and he goes, and he goes, you are one of the best baseball coaches I've ever seen, but you're always going to come in last to people like me because you're too nice and I know how to step on people. And I thought, wow. And they put you in charge of everybody. That's a great attitude to have.
Mhm.
And so two of my kids were right around the corner where I couldn't see them, and they heard everything. And basically, this guy destroyed 2 years of work in 90 seconds because by the time I got to the field for practice, everybody knew. And so the first two games of 99, and they were scrimmages, were 15-1 and 15-0. We didn't have 15. And, you're not supposed to do this in public school, but I did it anyway. I sent my kids down the left field line. I stood on home plate, and I just said a prayer. What can I do to show these kids I have faith in them? What can I do to get these kids to dream? What can I do to push them without breaking them? And at that point, the answer was very simple because in high school, from 15 to 18, I lived with my grandparents. And at a time when I could have gone off the rails very easily, my grandparents brought me right back and taught me incredible things that were very important and pertinent to the guy I would be later teaching a group of kids who had grown up the same way I had, being put down and pushed down. And so the answer comes back. He goes, go down there and teach them what your grandparents taught you. And that's what I did. And nobody's looking at me. I start talking about hopes and dreams and goals. And halfway through this, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, your grandfather would be proud right now. Hearing you talk to these kids like that, they're engaged, they're looking at you, they're smiling, they're talking. And that's when my high school catcher looked at me and goes, well, what about your dreams, coach? I said, my dream is to watch you guys do great in the classroom, great on the field, graduate from high school, go to college, see what's out there, and then you make up your own mind on where it is you want to be and what it is you want to do. Don't let anybody else decide for you what you're going to do with yours. He said, well, we think you still want to play. And I said, I cannot play. I am damaged, man. I have a surgery in which the doctor said, you'll never, ever pitch again. Every time we get on a bus to go play a game, your moms make me homemade flour tortillas. I look like a baseball scout, not a baseball player. I weigh 260 pounds. I said, no way, man. The doctor said I couldn't play. I'm great, big, and fat and old. Nope, it's not happening. But I want to help you guys get to be where it is you want to be. And the bet was formed out of that. Well, if we start winning, you try out. Can't do it. Can't do it. Well, eventually that turned into if we win a district championship, which this group of kids never did, you try out again, coach. And so I thought about it and we talked about it for another 20 minutes. And after that, I said, you know what? If you guys win a district championship, I will find a tryout somewhere. Now, at this point, I'm thinking two things. It's going to be embarrassing and humiliating because you're old and fat, and your wife is going to kill you. She's going to rip off your bad arm and beat you with it. And so I didn't tell anybody about the bet. The only people that knew were my high school kids and my 8-year-old son. And from that point on, as I would throw batting practice, the kids started hitting me. And so as they got better, I thought, wow, you're really going to go impress somebody. And what is amazing about that is when we finally lost in the playoffs, we lost to a kid who couldn't throw out of a wet paper bag. He's throwing arc balls and everything else. And I did not realize till I went to the tryout that my kids were hitting 98 mile an hour fastballs. So this kid who's throwing 70, we couldn't slow down
Yeah.
our swings. We were out in front of everything. And so, yeah, they were hitting me pretty good at the end of the season. I thought, there's no way you're going to impress anybody, dude. And then you go find out, yep. And just, I was floored. Those kids were hitting 98. And I was throwing 98 at a time when, 12 years earlier, I'm throwing 88.
And did you know you were throwing that hard?
I had no idea. And so in the movie, they have Dennis throwing to a radar gun on the side of the road,
Yeah.
and then he walks by it, it lights up. For me, I saw that sign every day, but our screenwriter is the one who went, stop the truck. He gets out, he throws it at the sign, it lights up, he puts it in the movie. Dennis loved the scene, and everybody else does. And that was to let everybody know I had no idea how hard I threw until I actually went to the tryout and threw.
Yeah, so can you take me through the tryout and kind of what it was like? Like, did you feel you belonged? When did you start believing you belonged there?
Oh, not for a long time, man. I get to the tryout and everybody's 18 to 24. They're tall, they're thin, they're athletic looking. I'm 35. I've got softball pants with an elastic waistband. My gut's hanging over that. And nobody would even play catch with me because I thought, this dude's crazy. And so I had my kids who were 8, 4, and 1 at the time at the tryout with me. And so the kids and I just played games and I changed diapers. We had a picnic for 4.5 hours while everybody tried out. And the scout agreed to let me throw, but he said, these guys are here for serious business. I'm going to let you throw, but you're going to be last. So I had to watch everybody try out. I watched them hit, throw, and run. And then he calls me out to the mound. He hands me a baseball and he goes, how many pitches do you need to warm up? I said, to embarrass myself, none. I just want to pitch and go home. And, he giggles at me. He walks back behind the backstop. He picks up his radar gun. He goes, anytime you're ready. Now, a young kid catching me gives me a sign for a fastball. I wind up, I throw it. It's a great pitch. And so at 35, being fat, I'm like, that is a good pitch right there. And I look up and the scout is shaking his radar gun. And I went, I do not even throw hard enough to register on the radar gun. That is embarrassing. And when I get done, the 19-year-old kid catch me, runs up to me, goes, man, you threw better than anybody today. And I said, son, that's because nobody here could throw. He goes, no, you had him talking back there. I said, I'm sure I did. Thank you. And the scout met me after that. And he goes, I remember you now. At Ranger Junior College, you were a football star. Everybody wanted to make a picture out of. I said, yes, sir. He said, Jimmy, back then you were tall and thin and athletic looking. And you threw 88. And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, I don't know what you've done your time off aside from eat, but you're throwing 98 right now. And I went, you have got to be kidding me. And I was just amazed because never in my wildest dreams at 35 weighing 260 did I think, now it's your chance to go back and play. And so hearing that, I still thought, I didn't embarrass myself. That's cool. No harm, no foul. I go home. I take my job in Fort Worth at a bigger school and the opportunity to work with more people. And we go from there. And they had me come back in 2 days and throw again. Half my high school team was there. My 3 kids were there. And rained so bad they had to hand me a brand new baseball every pitch, 98 every pitch. 2 days after that, I'm in Florida at their rehab camp, learning how to lose coaching weight at 35 years of age.
So what was the timetable like from then to playing in your first major league game?
The kids and I made a bet in February. In June, I tried out. June 19th, 1999, I tried out. In September 19th of that year, I'm signing autographs and pitching in the big leagues. Incredible ride.
Yeah, what was that time like? Was it just a blur? I mean, looking back.
It's all a blur. And it went so quick. And I had one of my friends who ended up being a producer on the movie go, take everything in because it's going to go by really quick. And
Mhm.
at that time, I didn't understand what Mark was saying. And then as I'm living it, I found out it does go very quick. You're in a suitcase, you pack up, you go travel, you play, you get in your suitcase, get on a plane, go travel, go play. And all of that is just very quick, very fast. And then I went from signing report cards to signing autographs in 3 months.
It's just incredible. And
Yeah, that's a dream.
did you write that book first and then the movie came? Like when did it start feeling
We
like this could be a movie?
we did the book and the movie at the same time. And what happened was the guy I told you about, Mark Ciardi, who ended up being a producer, he called me when I was in AAA with Durham, and he goes, "Hey, I work out with Michael Eisner, who was then the president of Disney. We work out every day at lunch. We saw you on TV doing an interview. We want you. We want to make a movie about you." And I thought, okay, you're going to make a movie about a guy who's had 9 surgeries, weighed 260 pounds, and dude, you're not making a comedy. I'm not doing that. And he's like, no, this is serious because people want to know you have a second chance to go chase your dreams, and you're the perfect example of that. You help those kids dream, and now they help you dream. And over the course of time, those 8 weeks in AAA, he kept calling. I had my agent take the calls because I was tired of saying no. And then when I get called up to the big leagues, Bill Plaschke with the LA Times writes this huge article about me on the Sunday edition of the sports page, and it covered the whole front page. He had interviewed my high school kids and talked to my kids and everybody else in my family. And my third night in the big leagues, I am traveling around all the movie studios, meeting all these people who want to do movies about me. And you talk about wow, you meeting big, high-powered people, and then you have a movie contract. And then after the season, we go to New York, and oh, now you have a book contract. And all of it went together at the same time. And then Disney bought the rights to the paperback, The Rookie. And 20 years later, I'm still speaking all over the world. And I'm doing something I never thought in my life I would do because I'm an introvert and I don't like talking to people.
Mhm.
And now, and God's sense of humor, he goes, now you're going to talk to a lot of people. And I've been doing that ever since.
And as a speaker, what do you want your audience to take away from your speeches and your story?
Nothing's impossible. With persistence and perseverance, you can achieve anything. If you have a great plan and a great heart to go after something, then you go after it because you do not want to wake up one day and go, what if I would have tried a little bit harder? What would have happened then? I know the answer to that now. And, the first guy I faced was Royce Clayton. He could have hit a home run, strike out. I could have hit him. Anything could have happened. But the point is, I was there in front of 40,000 people pitching because of a group of high school kids, doing something I never ever thought I would do again because the doctor said it's impossible. And because of a group of kids, I'm getting my second chance. And so we all learned from that experience. And it was a great time.
What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for young athletes who are pursuing a major league dream or they want to be professionals? What would you tell them?
You got to work out harder than anybody. You got to work on your mind more than anything. And you got to realize not everything is going to go your way. And if you have a setback, take it as a learning experience. Figure out what you did wrong, work on that, and then go from there. Don't give up. Don't look around. Just get after your dream and go. Because so many kids now, because of all the travel teams and stuff they have now that they didn't have back then, these kids are playing year round. And they're playing as many games as the major league players are.
Hmm.
And I think that is a ton of pressure on kids' arms, and that kind of competition, while being awesome with competition, you're also putting stress on your body by going out there every day and playing. And I want kids to know at 15, You're not in the big leagues. Have fun. This game is a game. And people get paid a lot of money to play this game, but you don't have to play, you get to play. Treat the game with respect because it has seen us through a lot more of our history than any other sport in this country. It's seen us through wars, recessions, depressions. Don't take your opportunity for granted. And if you want to be good, you got to work at it because nobody's going to hand you anything.
And earlier you talked about how, going into the tryout, you felt like, you're overweight or whatever, out of shape. How did you develop the confidence to say, to be out there on the mound and have the poise of a major league pitcher?
I think at that point, at 35, having been through everything I'd been through, the one thing for me was I quit thinking about it. You don't go, man, you're throwing in front of 40,000 people a day. That's a lot more kids than was in your classroom. And you don't let that get to you because you got to go out and do your job. And as a reliever, if I mess up today, I've got to erase that out of my mind and be ready for tomorrow because I might be right back in tomorrow. And so you can't take things too personally. Some days you got it, some days you don't. Some of the best games I had were days I didn't have my good fastball and I really had to hit my spots and know exactly what I was doing with the ball. And so the game plan was much more important at that point than the arm. And then other days I would warm up and I go, I have got it today. You just feel it come off your fingertips and go, I've got that zip. Just an amazing feeling to be out there and compete with guys who are Hall of Fame material. And then you retire and you look back and all these guys are now going in the Hall of Fame. What a fantastic opportunity.
It's incredible. And Jim, do you want to tell people where they can find you and where they could book you?
JimTheRookieMorris.com. There's a link on there that will take you to how to book me. We're writing a book right now. The manuscript is due in July, and it's going to come out next baseball season. And the main title is Dream Makers. And basically what the book is about is what the speech I'm doing right now is surrounding yourself with the best people possible to be the best you can possibly be. And so we're working on that right now. We've got a lot of fun. I have fun with my audiences. I take them up and down the scale of everything that's happened. And the only person I make fun of is me, and I let people laugh at me because you know what? Life shouldn't be as hard as we make it out to be. We should have fun with what we're doing.
Definitely. And I'm really looking forward to that book, Jim. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you learned something new, smash that subscribe button and leave us a quick review. Hustle and Motivate is presented by JokerMag.com, the home of the underdog.